Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We're joined by Matt Alkire. If you like all 22 clips in college football and the NFL draft and much more, you can always get the film evaluator himself. We've had Matt on before many times. What he did, he ran the College Bowl game or the All-Star game in Vegas as well. Matt, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. How in the world do we try to put a bow around the first round? What was your biggest wow moment? Was it A.J. Brown getting traded? Was it something else?
It was A.J. Brown getting traded, yeah, especially for me. But, hey, that's I'll gloat. I felt pretty good about that in Jordan Davis. But, hey, that was a very nice moment. A very nice moment, yeah.
Matt, by the way, is a beloved Eagles fan. He's told us that before. Go ahead. Anything else?
There were a lot of teams had really good drafts. I was writing them today. It's funny, there was so much trading, so I feel like people got to really fill needs while addressing. There wasn't necessarily a super elite top 10 this year. I think there was a fall off afterwards. So, some things I was talking about today. You look at the Giants, and they did a little different than I would have, but there are people that think that Kayvon Thibodeau's the best pass rusher in the draft. I don't, but he's certainly an elite one. So the Giants walk away with an elite lineman and an elite pass rusher. I mean, how much does that change your locker room right there? I mean, walking off the plane, you just got two franchise guys. And, for the Giants, you've now got Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, who those are two terrifying people. I wouldn't want them flushing the pockets of one another. I looked at Detroit and what Brad Holmes did up in Detroit. So he gets Aiden Hutchinson, and I hate to use the word safe with Aiden Hutchinson, but I think of Chris Long with Aiden Hutchinson. To me, he's going to be a guy for 10 years who's going to be really good. He might not be super elite, but I just always think he's going to be extremely dependable. But then he trades up. So it's funny you talk about trading for receivers. I thought the Eagles were going to trade up for Jamison Williams. He trades up. Everyone is thinking quarterback. And what does he do? He goes and gets a receiver that is just going to rip the top off the building. So there's so many teams in the first round that I think just made themselves so much better, but it wasn't that traditional draft. That drafts are never boring, but I think they just get a little bit monotonous. Last night for me, I was shocked by a lot of picks. So
I'm with you. It was not quarterback heavy, but I kind of enjoyed the difference in just seeing, another position being highlighted like wide receiver, and just seeing kind of the chaos going on was interesting. What did you think of what has been a very hotly debated already over the last 16 hours or so? What did you think of the pick by the Cowboys, Tyler Smith, the Tulsa offensive lineman?
It's funny. When it was made, so when I was on last time, I told you guys I heard they like Trevor Penning. And last night I didn't write anything. Went right to sleep, passed out, whichever one you want to call that. I heard you got. I heard your. I heard your. You should hear Matt. I call him, and he just nods off and starts talking about a mock, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much me. That's a good description, Smithy. But yeah, no, I sponsored by Eagle Rare. So I look at Tyler Smith, and seriously, I think back to my childhood and my early teenage years, and the Cowboys have a great line now. When I think of the Cowboys and their offensive line, I mean, you arguably have, well, no, you do. You have a Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer, Zach Martin. You've got a lot of talent. And I think back to the 90s, the guys now aren't what they were then in terms of those linemen would let you know that they just knocked you on your, I'll say, butt. Eric Williams was very vocal about the fact that he just ran over you. Nate Newton, left guard, left tackle, flexibility, which Tyler has, would just beat you to death. I mean, he'd pick you up and body slam you. And that's what Tyler does. So I could see Jerry Jones really falling in love with that, and I didn't think about it before the draft, that maybe Jerry just saw that physicality and really fell in love with that and said, hey, here's a guy that right now we can teach to play guard. I'm guessing he's going to play guard off the bat. And then down the road, because I've heard that at left tackle we've got some injury concerns, down the road he can turn into our left tackle. That's what I'm guessing they're thinking. And if so, I mean, I'm just talking as an outsider. I dig the pick. Could I see why Cowboys fans would be upset about it? Definitely. Yeah. It's not, to me, it's sexy. I love offensive and defensive line, but I mean, Cowboys fans are used to getting CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott and all this stuff that me as an Eagles fan, I've been wanting while we're drafting Jalen Reagor. And I'm like, what did you just do? So I kind of get it, if that makes sense.
Another pick that it seemed to be, I guess, hotly debated is when that wide receivers run started. You know, obviously Drake London went off the board, and then it seemed like after that, beginning with Garrett Wilson, there was just that crazy run. And right after Garrett Wilson, it was Chris Olave, who the Saints traded up to get. Were you surprised by that?
I knew that was coming.
You did?
No, I knew that question was coming.
Okay.
Yeah. So I immediately I tweeted out, hey, here's Dev Henderson. Because you think of the Saints offense over the years, and they've always had, even like Ted Ginn never ended up being that deep guy, but they've always had that 80-yard touchdown guy. It's always been there. So, I talked to a friend of mine, Devin Jackson, who's just a really smart football guy. I said, I think he fits it. I think they could trade up for him. And right when the trade up hit, I thought it was Jameson Williams, just like you said. I had written this season a lot of, in fact, anybody in personnel I talked to in the league really loved Olave and really said, hey, people outside of the league do not know how good we think he is. And I was flat out told by everybody except for one team, he won't make it outside of the top 15. I was surprised, however, that he went in front of Jameson. So, but he didn't have to wait too long.
Matt, I don't know for sure of the third or fourth round picks Washington picked up with their trade. I was hoping they were going to take a dynamic receiver to help with somebody not having to always just know that where McLaurin is. So they had a chance to get in that run. They moved back to get Dawson at Penn State, who seems to be a really talented and great route runner, whatever else, good hands. They moved back and took a wide receiver when they could have had Olave or Jameson Williams. Why?
I don't know is the answer. So my comp for Johan Dawson, and it's a compliment because I think very highly of him, is Terry McLaurin.
Oh, great. Twins.
Yeah. I love Johan. I've been a big fan. He's from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. So I watched him play in high school a bit. He was just a big name kid, and I think he's and by the way, I don't think it's a bad pick by the Redskins. It's just a lot of what he does. To me, I think he is it was bold to say, I think he's a better version of Terry McLaurin. Just he plays so much bigger than he is. The way he adjusts to the ball is really uncanny. His catch radius for how small he is, I don't get how he does it. He just does a lot of things that Terry does, and I've thought that for a couple years now. So when they drafted him, it was funny. I looked at my wife and I said, they really must like Terry McLaurin types. Mm-hmm. I thought that they would go with more of like a field stretch. I really thought people were going to try to go after Williams high because everybody goes after that speed trait. I don't think it's a bad pick. I just hey, I think you really went after a guy that is what you have, and that's fine. I'll take two of those. Just odd to me.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. I think that's what everybody was kind of wondering. Is like, don't we kind of already have this? But either way, like if you say he's a good player, so they could use good players. That's for sure. This draft was different, as we mentioned a couple times now, because of the lack of quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett does ultimately stay in Pittsburgh and is now a member of the Steelers. I know there's been all the talk about hand size and things like that, but just kind of your thoughts on the quarterback group entering tonight. Do you think we'll see a run because there was a lack of it last night? And for Pickett and the Steelers, what do you think about that combination?
It was really funny. I had heard for a little while that I thought Pickett was going to go to the Steelers, and I'd said that, and for some reason, a particular Steelers publisher kept saying, "Why do you hate us?" I don't know what they don't like about Kenny, but they really wanted Malik. I guess. I mean, I talked to you guys before. I only had two guys in the second round. That doesn't mean anything. I have Malik Willis as a third rounder, and Sam Howell. I would think four guys will go in this round. I'm just wondering how quickly they get traded up for tonight, because there's still a lot of very talented players left on the board. On my personal board, and the whole who the hell is Mel Kiper thing. I mean, who am I? It doesn't really matter. But I have two first rounders still left on the board at corner. And then there are some guys that I thought would go in the first round. And one was to Tampa Bay, who has the first pick. So it's obviously going to affect it. I don't know how much of a run to predict, because when I talked to personnel people, they told me at least four would go in the first round, and that didn't happen. So, I don't know how to answer you other than I was given the information, I followed it, and the information didn't pan out. So, I will say good for Cole Strange, though, by the way. Great kid.
Yeah.
Very happy about that.
Yeah.
But because Belichick is the one that drafts him, right? Then even if there are what the hell is that? It doesn't matter. It's washed out because Belichick's the one that drafted him?
I mean, I have two opinions on it. My first opinion on it is it's a reach, in my opinion, from what I saw. I watched Cole play. I had him as a third round pick. I would have loved to have him. I don't know a team that didn't like him. And my opinion is the reaction on it is, you took him too high for everyone else. You apparently took him where you wanted him, though. So I don't really care that it's Bill Belichick. It's any team. Is it fair to criticize it? Sure. I wasn't a fan of the video of McVay and the GM from the Rams. I don't know. I remember my first beer. Was
they had definitely had a couple. That was very clear. Yeah.
I mean, when the pick came through, I had been sitting there having my bourbon all night. I mean, I said, good for Cole. I mean, I don't know. I don't get the reaction of that. Good thing we wasted our time at 104. Well, he wasn't going to be there at 104, so I don't know. Do a better job.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a guy that doesn't work in the league. So I don't care. I'll say it. I just don't. These kids worked harder than to have that. So, but no, Bill doing it, or Coach Belichick doing it, I don't think it adds anything to it. But I'll tell you this: I do think Cole Strange is going to kick some butts in the NFL. So I hope he lives up to it. It'd be cool.
Matt, is there anything more humorous each year in the draft than the middle finger the Packers give to Aaron Rodgers in the first round with their selections?
No, nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing. It was brilliant too. I actually it's a really good draft though. I mean, you got good players. I know just the talk that I had heard on how much people loved Quay Walker in the league. He is so good. And then Devontae Wyatt, He's a little polarizing because he's got some off the field stuff that may or may not come out. That I don't know how they're going to feel about that. But some teams heard it, some didn't. But staying off of that, as a player, he's extremely good too. So they have an awesome defense now. It's just I don't know what to say for Aaron. I mean, I would think you would get tired of it after a while, but then again, he had a lot of years to win, and he had a lot of receivers. So at this point, I mean, they got to build a defense around him too. So
Nakobe Dean, Brees Hall, Logan Hall, who's a young man who played high school ball here in our backyard in college at Houston, Jalen Petrie. These are some of the names that are out there. How quickly, I mean, you don't see them staying out there very long, do you?
I think Logan Hall's the first pick off the board. I thought Logan was going to get taken by the Buccaneers. I still do. Logan's phenomenal. Love Logan to death in terms of the player. The first way sounds a little weird when I say it. Brees Hall, he's running back number one. I don't think it's close, so he should go fast. Who else did we say there? Petrie. I don't know where Petrie's going to go. I've heard solid second round, so I expect him to. Nakobe Dean, I think he might wait. I think he might be waiting until the end of the second round. The team that I would most say if he's going to get picked up a little earlier is the Washington Redskins. Jamin Davis last year was a guy that I thought they'd really like. They did take him in the first. They've moved him out to weak side linebacker, and I could see both of those coaches really liking that field general in Nakobe. So Redskins wouldn't surprise me with him at all.
Matt, thank you, man. Enjoy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as a talent goes into 32 more picks, 64 picks tonight as well with rounds 2 and 3. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
Matt Alkire, all 22 clips with us. Came on, again, he ran the All-Star game in Vegas, loved the Baylor players, and now we see what happens.